fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. No matter what you have experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. As we gather this morning, let us pause and acknowledge that the ground upon which we gather is the ancestral and current home of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. With humility for the ways in which we unwittingly participate in the harm, we seek to learn a new way forward. We begin to ally and witness with our indigenous siblings the bringing forth of a new sacred dream of community and a world healed to a greater wholeness. Good morning. Good morning. I am Caitlin, and my pronouns are she and her, and we're excited you're here with us today. We want to extend an especially warm welcome to anybody that's here for the first, second, or third time. We look forward to getting to know you, and we also want to say good morning to everybody at home in our virtual audience. We have several announcements this morning. There's a lot going on. Monday, December 11th at 7 here in the sanctuary, there will be a special evening Vesper-style service for any that are experiencing sadness and want a quiet space for reflection. Our pageant and crafternoon is Sunday, December 17th. Have a look in happenings, bring the kids, it'll be a lot of fun. Christmas Eve is on a Sunday this year, so the morning of the 24th will be a pancake breakfast here at 8:30, and then we will have Christmas Eve services that night at 6 and at 9, and all of this is in happenings, so make sure you're getting happenings, and you will have all of the details for Christmas. And now, we're going to fully arrive and greet each other. You are welcome to stand and share the warmth of community with those around you.
Morning, everybody online. There's folks, I see you coming in. Hi.
Are you, Brenda?
Yes.
Hey, Brenda, did the teachers come in yet?
So I was actually just going to announce, if anyone wants to place a last minute order, you can email me. The provider is back ordered. So I'm waiting for them to get their shirts back in, and then we can go ahead and continue with the order. But yeah, a Hail Mary pass for anyone who wants to get one. I'm sorry, excuse me, my copier is printing. It's going crazy. I don't know. The copier has a mind of its own today. It's very weird. For any folks who haven't checked happenings recently, we do have an announcement about the holiday services, what will be going on there. There will be a today's service on Wednesday, the 11th, excuse me, in the evening. We will also have a pancake breakfast at 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the 24th. And then services that evening will be at 6:30 and excuse me, and at 9 o'clock. So please take a look at happenings for all the details on that and all the other stuff that is happening right now. And if anyone needs to be connected to happenings, please let me know. Send me your email and I can get you in the system. Oh, and if any of you are interested in signing up to attend the pancake breakfast, drop me a note on that as well, and I can add you to the list. I just kind of want to do a general RSVP so they know how much to buy.
It is always so nice to have so many new and familiar faces here in community this morning. I am the Reverend Laura Young, and it is just such a joy to be with you. That winter has actually begun here in South Valley as well as Salt Lake Valley. And let's take a moment just to light our chalice, the symbol of our faith and the light of our commitments to love and justice. Caitlin, will you do the honors? Our opening reading is from Annie Dillard, from her work, Teaching a Stone to Talk. At a certain point, you say to the woods, to the sea, to the mountains, the world, now I am ready. Now I will stop and be wholly attentive. You empty yourself and wait, listening. After a time, you hear it. There is nothing there. There is nothing but those things only, those created objects, discrete, growing or holding or swaying, being rained on or raining, held, flooding or ebbing, standing or spread. You feel the world's word as a tension, a hum, a single chorused note everywhere the same, and this is it. This hum is the silence. The silence is all there is. It is the Alpha and the Omega. It is God's brooding face over the waters. It is the blinded note of 10,000 wings. You take a step in the right direction to pray to this silence, and even to address the prayer to world. Distinctions blur. Quit your tense. Pray without ceasing. Please say our chalice lighting words with me as you wish. They're in your order of service. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. And at this time, I'd like to invite Jordan to come forward and light our Hanukkah candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, mitzivanu lechag shel Hanukkah. Amen.
Thank you, Jordan. Jordan's request was that we light the first three for the days of Hanukkah that have already passed, the one for today in advance, and since we will not be together next Friday, to light the remaining in solidarity with the Jewish community. These candles will be left to burn until they are complete. You do not blow out Hanukkah candles. Okay. It's time for the children's story, and I am super excited about this story. So if you are young or young at heart and you want to come forward for a children's story, please come join me up here. And you can take a cushion if you'd like. Okay, so today's story is all about sound and the sounds that we hear throughout our daily life and over the course of our lives. So who can tell me what part of our body do we use to listen? Our ears. Is that the only thing we use to listen, do you think? Leo. Our brains. We use our brains to listen. Very good, very good. How many people have ever heard a really loud sound and felt it in their chest? Yeah. How many people have had a memory and heard something in their mind? So sound is more than just an anatomical experience, right? And maybe if you really want to go out there, could you even say that we listen with our eyes, with our scent, with our touch? That these are all ways of perceiving and receiving information about the world. So we're not the only ones that make sound, right? There are many creatures around the earth that make sound. I'm going to invite Palmer to play some of those sounds for us this morning. You know that one, Max, right? Can you tell me what kind of animal that is? A bird, right? Many kinds of birds. You know what's so interesting I read about birdsong is that it's mathematical and it's intentional. And birds don't just sing because they have a song, though that's a big part of it. It's not just about mating and, gossip. It's also about who they are. And each bird has its own unique kind of song that it sings. And the songs they sing change over the course of the day in response to the seasons and what's going on. And it's considered by language specialists to be a form of pre-language. Pre-language. So it's not words like you and I understand, but has the building blocks. Has the building blocks of language. So it's similar to when like a baby is making noises, right, before they speak their first word. Those sounds the baby makes are similar to birdsong. They're sort of the building blocks. Well, so there's other sounds, right? There's a sound that happens other places. See if you can identify what this one is. What's this sound? Who can tell me what this sound is? Here we go. It's rain, right? How many people have heard rain? We've all heard rain before, right? How many people like the sound of rain? Most people like the sound of rain, right? I've actually not met someone who didn't like the sound of rain. Might be grumpy that it's raining, but still like the sound of rain. So that's another sound. We have bird sound, we have ocean sounds, and here's another sound. Sound of a human song. Instruments.
भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्.
How many people have never heard a song like that? Anyone never heard that song? Yeah, a couple people are maybe unfamiliar with that kind of song. That kind of song is called a mantra. It's called a mantra. And a mantra is very similar to birdsong. It's considered non-word-based sound. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get further into the service. It's non-word-based sound, and it doesn't have a meaning, but it's very meaningful. All right, so what are some other sounds? What are some sounds that children often make? Yes. Cawing sound. But we just made a sound, didn't we, in response to that? What was that sound we just made? Laughter. Can you guys laugh for me? What about all you? Can you laugh with me? Laughter. Is laughter word-based? No, it's a response that doesn't have words. Isn't that interesting? We often think in words and we talk in words, but there are other sounds that we make as a human being that is similar to what the birds make and to what other animals make. And that's meaningful, but it doesn't have meaning, right? So laughter is meaningful, but you can't translate it. There's not a word other than laughter, right? But Does the word laughter capture what laughter really is? No. No. Here's a question for you. What would it sound like if we combined all of those sounds together into a single sound? What do you think it might sound like if we put all those sounds together all at once, with all the other sounds in the whole of the earth? Do you think it would sound good? Or do you think it would sound weird? Maybe you're worried it might sound bad? Might sound scary? Maybe overwhelming? So here's a really interesting fact, and some of you may have been familiar with this, but NASA actually has recorded the sound of the earth. And so Palmer's going to play it for us. And then, of course, you can't hear the sound of the earth, right? Because there's no sound in space. And you can't hear the sound of the electromagnetic fields because our ears can't hear it. So NASA asked an artist to put it into a range that we can hear. So here's the sound of all of our sounds together. Not what you expected, is it? This is the sound of all of us, from all time and all place. And if you play the electromagnetic sounds of other planets, it doesn't sound like this. It sounds kind of awful. Funny how this sounds like home. So we're going to let this music play for a little longer, and we're going to let our children go downstairs.
This community, our church and its many ministries, are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. Part of our ministry is sharing our Sunday morning offerings with an organization that aligns with our principles and values. Today, we have a special dedicated offering for Doctors Without Borders. Today is International Human Rights Day, and the Social Action Team has put this together in support of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Doctors Without Borders is on the ground in over 70 countries, providing urgently needed humanitarian aid to those affected by crisis, conflict, disease, disasters, and exclusion from healthcare. And those locations include Gaza. So if you would please join me in reading our offertory words this morning. They're in your order of service. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. We will now accept the offering. For those of you at home, you are invited to use the giving link in the online order of service, and I invite the ushers to come forward.
Reverend Laura asked me to play this piece for today's service because it's about sound. John Cage was a really wonderful composer. He died in 1992. He's probably best known for this piece, which is called 4 minutes and 33 seconds. You can only imagine how it affected an audience when it was performed in 1952. He was very curious about what is art. Is a painting has a frame around it. What is music? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'll start at the beginning. No. So he made this piece to invite people to listen to the sound. Some people call this piece 4 minutes, 33 seconds of silence. But it's not about silence. It's about the music we hear all around us. That was one of his big talking points, that everything is music. So it's in 3 movements. Actually, here's a quote. Now I can't find it, of course. So I think this will set it up pretty good. To Cage, it seemed, at least from what he wrote about it, to have been an act of framing, of enclosing environmental and unintended sounds in a moment of attention in order to open the mind to the fact that all sounds are music. So I've asked John to perform this piece with me, 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and it's an experience. Listen, you'll be listening to everything that's happening, to the ambient noise, music around you. We're using the original score. It's in 3 movements, and we will be using this score to perform 4 minutes and 33 seconds by John Cage.
for all that we have received and all we have found the courage to give. May we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing for South Valley and for Doctors Without Borders. And now, we're going to welcome a new family into membership with us. I'd like to invite the Johansson family to come forward, as well as my membership team, Tammy and Sarah. One to you, and then one to you guys will share. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you guys need an order of service. Who has an order of service that can give? Not that. Yes, oh yes, this one. It's very small, so I hope your eyes are good. It is with rejoicing this morning that we welcome Alyssa and Joshua into our membership. They have been with us for almost 2 years and have decided to make this their spiritual home. Ours is a free faith, and our church is not based upon dogma or upon creeds, but upon the thoughtful and freely given commitment of mind and heart in community. Into this circle of shared search, collective counsel, and mutual support, Joshua and Alyssa have elected to join. May this community fulfill in practice their best hopes. May their wisdom and energy be generously shared here, and may we welcome them with gladness and with open hearts.
Membership in this community comes with both responsibilities and opportunities for living an enriched life of service. As a member, we ask 3 things of you. First, we ask that you attend worship regularly. Worship is the heart of our congregation's shared experience. While, of course, we all need to be away from time to time, we ask that you make it a priority to be present with us on Sunday mornings. Second, we ask that you get involved in one of our many ministries and make service to and for the community part of your commitment. Done. Keep going.
Done.
This is a shared ministry, and our work is amplified and made brighter by the gifts you share with us. Join one of our Soul Matters groups, the choir, or volunteer for a ministry or leadership team. Third, we ask that you make a pledge to support the work of this community. Your pledge is critical to sustaining our many ministries and ensuring that those in need of a community such as ours may know of it.
Membership here is for both the good and easy times, as well as those times of difficulty or hardship. Membership is for every season of your life, and we will walk with you through each of those seasons and ask that you do the same with us. Together, we build the beloved community that is South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. We are so glad you are here.
And in the spirit of dedication, I now invite you, Alyssa and Joshua, our newly received member, to join together in speaking the words of commitment as you see them written there.
This is now my religious community. It is composed of people, both like me and different. Together, we make it what it is. I want this community to be a source of light and wholeness. It will be if I am. It will make generous gifts if I am a generous giver. It will be a friendly and welcoming place if I remember to reach out. It will be a responsible steward of resources if I participate responsibly in it. It will share beauty and challenging thought with other people if I invite them. It will increase in wisdom if I am diligent in my own spiritual growth. It will be a community of fearlessness and faith, of loyalty and love, if I, who make it what it is, and filled with these. As I become a member of this congregation, I dedicate myself to the goal of becoming all the things I want my church to be.
And will the congregation please join in welcoming Joshua and Alyssa by speaking together the affirmations printed in your order of service.
We rejoice in the promise of new friendship and growth as we renew and expand our covenant together. May this splendid venture of life continue to be celebrated faithfully here and in this community. May the human spirit always find an ample home.
Into this covenant community of memory and promise, you are now enfolded. May this congregation nurture and challenge you, offer you comfort and guidance, and call forth the best in each of you. And may this congregation, in their turn, bring to this institution energy, vision, and commitment. And may we all together become ever more fully the community we have hoped for it to be. And so now we have a gift for you. Let's see, I gotta go over here. Actually, two. So first, we would like to give you this gift of roses, because roses are both beautiful and they smell delightful and they bring joy to our hearts. But they also have thorns to remind you that we all have seasons, and this is your home. And this is a new chalice for your family. It was made for us by Cinnamon. She has been developing her skills as a mad, what's the word I'm looking for? Potter, a mad potter. And so here you go. May it bring you joy as you light in your family, your continuing journey as humans. Congratulations.
Our reading this morning is a recorded excerpt from a speech given by Reverend Howard Thurman at Spelman College in 1980. Reverend Thurman was an American author, philosopher, theologian, mystic, educator, and civil rights leader. Please note that Reverend Thurman, speaking as he was in 1980, uses some phrasing that we may find jarring in 2023. We trust his good intentions and honor the broad and beautiful legacy that he has left with us.
There is in you something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. Nobody like you has ever been born. I didn't say thank goodness. And no one like you will ever be born again. You are the only one. And if you miss the sound of the genuine in you, you will be a cripple all the rest of your life. Who are you? And can you find a way to hear the sound of the genuine in yourself? There's so many noises going on inside of you. So many echoes of all sorts. So many internalizing of the rumble and the traffic, the confusions, the disorders by which your environment is peopled, that I wonder if you can get still enough, not quiet enough, still enough to hear rumbling up from your unique and essential idiom the sound of the genuine in you. If I were to ask you, what is the thing that you desired most in life this afternoon? You'd say a lot of things off the top of your head, most of which you wouldn't believe, but you would think that you were saying the thing that I thought you ought to think that you should say. But I think that if you were stripped to whatever there is in you that is literal and irreducible, and you tried to answer that question, it may be something like this. I want to feel that I am thoroughly and completely understood, so that now and then I can take my guard down and look out around me and not feel that I will be destroyed with my defenses on. I want to feel, how to say this, I want to feel completely vulnerable, completely naked, completely exposed, and absolutely secure. Now, if I hear the sound of the genuine in me, and you hear the sound of the genuine in you, it is possible then for me to go down in me and come up in you. So that when I look at myself through your eyes, having made that pilgrimage, I see in me what you see in me. And the wall that separates and divides will disappear. And we will become one. Because the sound of the genuine makes the same music. Now this is your assignment. And you can never say again that nobody told you.
Is not that what we do in this community? If someone were to ask me for a definition of worship, I would point them to that. As a child, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house in Penryn, California. a rural community about 45 minutes east of Sacramento. The drive from the San Francisco Bay Area to Penryn was two and a bit hours, but it felt a world away. When we pulled off of the freeway near Sierra Community College, that was all there was. A small set of buildings, 2 gas stations, and the country road. We'd turn left and head east. A few miles down, we'd turn right, and then the palm trees began. Why someone had seen fit to plant so many palms in Northern California is a total mystery to me. They lined that country road for miles, and their tall majesty fascinated me. My parents taught my brother and I to try and count them. This is, of course, quickly impossible in a moving car. But my brother and I tried nevertheless. We'd usually get to about 20 or 25, lose count, and have to start over again. Up and around and down those curved lanes we'd go until we get to the bottom of the hill that was my grandparents' 2.5-acre cherry orchard. It was a steep enough hill to require arriving at a slightly accelerated speed, followed by a quick downshift in order to use some momentum to get all the way up. In the stick shift that I drove as a teenager, it meant correctly timing the move from third to first so as not to stall out, and I guarantee you I stalled out a fair number of times. But it was so worth it. For when I would pull into that driveway and turn off the car and step out, it was always the same. A wave of scent and stillness would wash over me. Earth, blossom, and tree, as well as an audible lack of city noise that often stopped me, this sudden encounter with silence. And for the first few hours, it always made me acutely aware of just how loud I was. My steps, my pace, my voice, even my thinking. And as I adjusted to the new normal of their property, I would find myself slowing down a bit. And by the time the rooster would crow the next morning, I would feel as if somehow I had arrived. Some people think quiet is the absence of sound. And I think we would all broadly agree that that is part of it. But as we heard in our offertory piece this morning, it's a bit more complex, isn't it? There is a relationship of body, memory, time, and place embedded into the experience of sound. All sorts of sounds. And these experiences vary from person to person, across time and place. And while noise is not objectively defined, we all know it when we hear it, right? And a peace-inducing quiet sounds much the same. Quiet can act as a threshold to stillness. And stillness is that grand master key to everything worth having, I think. For when the mind and the body and the life can be fully active and utterly still, when we can be body, mind, and heart still and fully alive at the same time, it is in that moment that we can begin to hear that sound of the genuine. But finding the necessary quiet these days is a bit elusive. It seems that our external reality and our internal selves are constantly beset by an intrusion that some would say is too much noise. Then I would offer that this is not solely an accidental side effect of technological advances in our world, but that it is also the result of a purposeful and directed effort to engage human beings for the purpose of driving the consumption habits that are the necessary fuel for our modern economy. The Industrial Revolution ushered in a whole new kind of sound to the world, machine sound. And machine sound does not need breaks or rest, vacations, sabbaticals, a moment. And that makes machine sound fundamentally different from the organic sounds that our predecessors experienced. And while our predecessors might have complained about the roosters of their lives, they did not have to contend with the constant hum of machines. Our planes and trains and automobiles, great movie, were obvious noise producers. But so are the data centers of our modern landscape, filled of hundreds of thousands of servers, humming and whining 24/7 so that we can shop, comment on socials, read the news, and be entertained. That's not intentional, but that's lovely. Our built landscapes, our transportation systems, and our consumer-based economy make many demands on our human ears. And the impact of all of this is not just a louder environment that can stress our anatomical ears and lead to loss of hearing. Researchers have also been able to demonstrate that when humans are exposed to too much noise, we get stressed out. Our blood pressure and stress hormones spike, our sleep is interrupted, and our attention spans are shortened. These impacts, it seems to me, are more than just anatomical. It seems to me that there is a kind of spiritual impact of our modern noise problem that goes beyond feeling annoyed or distracted. The stress that is created from having to navigate a highly demanding soundscape and the ways that it draws our attention to and from and out of the present moment and into a never-ending consumption process means that our internal stillness, the development of, and the maintenance and the growth of internal resources for coping with this complex world and for resourcefully responding to self, to others, and to the world is negatively impacted. And this matters for all sorts of political and familial relational reasons. The fracturing, or the cutting into small chunks of internal resources to cope with an ever more complex and challenging world can lead to breakdowns in communication between individuals, between groups, and across time and place. And as I thought about all of these things this week, I began to wonder if this noisiness is part of what drives the current divisions that we experience here in the United States. Because we are under a lot of stress in this built environment. We have a tendency here in the West to dismiss the impact of sound on self unless it is horrendously grating or leads to loss of hearing. But researchers have told us that noise is changing our lives in ways that we do not fully understand. And yet, there are other ways of understanding sound, other skill sets that can be developed and nurtured and practiced to help us to navigate the complexity and the intrusion of noise in our lives. Within the traditions broadly gathered under the Western term Hinduism, sound is a central tenet of spiritual teaching. This is utterly different than Western traditions, where the written word or scripture has long been the primary source of wisdom, teaching, and practice. And here in the United States and in Unitarian Universalism, I think we can also note that most of our secular traditions and our philosophies are based on words. But in the Indian subcontinent that gave rise to Hinduism and later Buddhism, the gateway to wisdom is not a bound book. Many Westerners falsely believe that the textual sources such as the Vedas, the Upanishads, or the Bhagavad Gita are central to the lives and practices of Hindu people. And while these texts are important historical documents and certainly sacred, they are far from definitive. These texts are not like the Bible. They do not hold that kind of place or create that kind of structure in their context or use. Hindu approaches to the world and what it means to be human are not the same as Western Christian approaches. I cannot emphasize this enough. You cannot just go and say, we have our Bible, they have the Bhagavad Gita. It is a completely different system of understanding how to be human. A Westerner might climb a mountain in search of the seed of God. A Hindu is more likely to listen to and through sound as the actual seat of God. One of the ways that Hinduism approaches spirituality is a very specific form of sound, a mantra. Also, the teachings that are passed from guru to student. It is an oral tradition based on person-to-person teaching and mantras. And while that person-to-person teaching and those mantras will draw from sacred texts and rituals and stories, they are adapted to meet the student where they are on their journey. In Hinduism, a mantra is often referred to as the Vedic word. And as such, a mantra is regarded as being in and of itself an eternal, powerful vibration that can only be revered as sound. The written form is lifeless. The written form of the mantra is lifeless. That's very different than the written form of the Bible, where many communities in the United States consider it to be a source of life. A mantra is a phrase or a sound that functions as a ritual unit. It often has a mathematical structure and is familiar and similar to birdsong. But it exists outside of language. A linguist might refer to that as pre-language, but I would prefer sacred sound, so as to preserve this idea that sound does not need to progress to language in order to be considered real. A mantra is an instrument of thought, and it may not be translatable. It is deeply meaningful, but it may or may not have a translation. So again, very different than Western Christian approaches to wisdom. For while in the Western tradition, singing and prayer are certainly a part of spiritual practice, and poetry in this congregation is, I think, one of our sources. The sound is generally subordinate to the word. We are taught that the specific words we sing or pray or recite are important and evocative of spiritual truth, and that these words are the primary revealer of something deeper and sacred. And one can see quite easily how this commitment, dare say, obsession with words has gotten us into tremendous trouble on social media. What we post on social media, the actual words are often used to point to who we truly are. And mistakes with words are harshly criticized. I was first introduced to the use of mantra during a trip I took to India way back in 2006, before most of the children in our congregation were even born. And our guru sang many mantras for us during our time, but emphasized that we should memorize the Gayatri mantra as primary. And it has various translations, but again, they're only approximations. The sound of the mantra is meant to evoke worship and connection to the sacred, and involves a request to be enlightened. So hold on, I'm going to sing it for you. I'm very nervous about this. It goes like this. Om Bhurbuva Suvaha Tat Saveturvarenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Naf Prachodeyata. When we listen to or use mantras, we are hearing and experiencing something that transcends language and thought. It is an attempt to access the unseen, the unheard, the ineffable quality of creation itself. To my Western ears, this idea echoes near perfectly the words of Dr. Howard Thurman that we heard a moment ago. We ache for the genuine, for the authentic, for the unadulterated, unpackaged, and on sale today only versions of ourselves. We long to be seen, heard, known, and blessed. We all know what it feels like to not receive those gifts. And we know what it feels like when we are deeply listened to. This intrusion of sounds designed to distract, persuade, cajole, and make profit off of us, I think is one of the worst kinds of noise imaginable, because it dilutes and diminishes our capacity to hear and be heard. But it seems inescapable, yes? I recall vividly the first time I encountered a gas station pump with an audio-visual advertisement on a continuous loud loop. I was not pleased. For while I had previously never considered pumping gas to be a moment of quiet or stillness or reflection, the intrusion of advertisement into that space felt like a tremendous loss. Yeah. And for years, I avoided those stations with those screens, and now they're nearly universal. So I have had to accept their presence in my landscape. But I do regularly turn my back on them and try and focus on something of my own choosing. So marketers of goods and services have yet to find a way to truly get inside our heads. Though Elon Musk's experiments with implanting chips into the brains of monkeys is a clear indication that the intention is to find a way. And I will note that those experiments on monkeys were not only unsuccessful, but that the number of monkeys that died in suffering or needed to be put down was appallingly high and considered dangerously negligent and cruel. So now is the time to pay attention, to listen, and to think differently about sound and noise, and what the skills are that we're going to need to develop as we move forward with these technological changes, many of which are exciting and will bring great relief to suffering for many people. I think the core question as we think about responding to this, and I know this is a long sermon, but sit down, I'm not done yet. That if we are to respond to these challenges and support the thriving of all people, plants, animals, and the land, we have to ask the question, to whom or what are we accountable? Failure to make a choice has generally meant that the wealthy and the powerful make that choice for the rest of us. So, to whom or to what are we accountable? In a Unitarian Universalist congregation, the answer is generally not God. At least not the God of the Christian scriptures. But is humanity a sufficient stand-in for all that is held by that word, God? I'm not sure. I am hesitant to center humanity as if it can be shaken loose of the rest of creation. And yet I am even less sure that calls to respect the whole of the earth and all its creatures will cut through that noise any quicker. Because the people who are making those choices and those decisions on our behalf are not listening. I am tired of using my words. I'm tired of words more broadly, even as I use them voraciously today. Because what I am in need of, what I desire when I use a word such as God, is a response that heeds the gravity of my sounding that name to begin with. And so I wonder, is the Hindu approach to sound a pathway to explore something new in myself, something that we desperately need in this time and in this place? Is it possible to let go of words and their parameters of grammar, definition, correctness of use and context? And if I did so, what might I hear then? Would it be the sound of the genuine in me? And if you joined me in this, would you hear the sound of the genuine in you? And if we practice together, what new perspectives, ideas, creative solutions that are living in the sound beyond words might then begin to take shape in us. And I wonder, would there be new aspects of God revealed to us as we let go of our obsession with defining God and God's self with words? Within certain strands of Hinduism, there is only one listener, and it is all and each of us as an aspect of God's self. I wonder, is that the song of the earth? Is that the sound of our home? Perhaps. Perhaps it is. I will leave you with a short story entitled The Song of the Bird, collected and curated and edited by Anthony DeMello. The disciples were full of questions about God. Said the mistress, God is unknown, the unknowable. Every statement about her, every answer to your questions is a distortion of the truth. And the disciples were bewildered. Then why do you speak about God's self at all? Why does the bird sing? Said the mistress. Not because he has a statement, but because he has a song. Amen. Slight change of plans. We're going to extinguish our chalice, and then we will sing our final hymn. Let's stand up to extinguish that chalice. You've been sitting for a while. We extinguish our chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. You can remain standing. Let's sing our final hymn, voice still and small. We're going to sing it twice through? Okay, twice through. Amen and blessed be. Let's have coffee.